Good morning, Kansas City. It is a great day to be an American. Thanks for tuning in to KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I'm Kevin Kietzman, ready to rock your world the next hour, leading you up to the Vince Show. I'm still dancing on clouds after watching the State of the Union address last night, the greatest State of the Union address I've ever seen in my life, and Donald Trump's finest 90 seconds in front of a microphone in his lifetime, and he has done it all in front of microphones. Welcome to the show. We got a great lineup for you today. This is going to be an awful lot of fun. We're going to get into some other issues other than the State of the Union, although I am going to take your calls, and anybody that wants to comment on the State of the Union today, if we had enough calls for the entire hour, I may do that, because it seems it's that important for us to comment on what it was that we witnessed last night. We comment over and over and over in our society, we're watching history. I heard a pro golfer won his first tournament last week, and he beat a bunch of really good golfers. And afterwards he said, we're out here on this tour making history. Yeah, not really. Tiger Woods made some history. Jack Nicklaus made some history. Kansas City's Tom Watson made some history, but not every week is history. We overuse the word. We've never, ever, ever in our lives seen anything like the 90 seconds last night where Donald Trump said, stand up if you agree. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. And the right side of the room roared and stood up, and they kept clapping and clapping and clapping, and Trump put one arm up on the podium, his right arm free, and he opened his palm to the people on the left side of the room, our left, from the camera left, his right, the Democrats, and waved at them like, are you not going to stand up? He shrugged his shoulders like, here's your chance, just do it. And then he gave that Trump trademark smirk like, oh my God, I can't even deal with these people. They're so crazy. And he looked at him again, and he pointed at him like, are you going to do it? They showed Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona sitting like a grumpy puss, sitting in his chair. It was pathetic the way they looked. It was the most stark contrast in any State of the Union address ever. And there was a risk and a gamble to this. They could have stood up. What if 10 or 12 of them stood up? It wouldn't have been near the story. They were in complete unison. They weren't standing up. If they all stood up, maybe they look bigger and better than Donald Trump. Like, we're for American citizens first, but we got to take care of these illegal aliens too. They could have argued that. What people didn't know they were watching was one of the greatest political moves ever. As you were watching that 90 seconds, you weren't thinking about politics. You weren't thinking he's giving a campaign speech. You were not thinking that he's trying to win your vote over. Because when you have a visual, and this is a really hard thing to do in broadcasting, the hardest thing to do in broadcasting is to shut your mouth. Trust me. A great announcer, a great sports announcer like Jim Nantz, if he's calling the Super Bowl and there's a big touchdown, he'll say, Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, touchdown. Travis Kelce, touchdown. And the crowd goes wild, and they show it, and you stay silent. The producer's in your head. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. They don't want the analyst to say anything. Let the play breathe. There's nobody coaching Trump. He felt it in that room. His silence was golden. It was spectacular. The only thing left was for cameras to keep taking video of a Republican senator cheering and screaming and clapping, and a Democrat representative sitting in their chair pouting like a little 3-year-old. That's all that was left. That's all they could do. There was nothing else could happen as long as the president wasn't going to speak. They weren't just going to keep showing him as long as people kept clapping. And there it was for America, for everyone to see. We don't need to get in the weeds about health care or Social Security or, it's awesome stuff. I love these policies, okay? The Trump accounts, all that stuff. Most people will tune that in and go, okay, that's just political. He's doing this. This is what he wants to do. Great. They like, most of America, an overwhelming majority of Americans love his policies. There's just a lot of people that like his policies but don't like him. I don't care because his legacy is, I think there might be a time where we just call the guy Coach Trump because he's coaching Americans into understanding what is right and what is wrong and what it means to be an American. Here's how you do this. He can't teach J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio to do what he did last night. They can't. J.D. Vance is not capable of it. J.D. Vance is brilliant. I'd love if he was our president. Ron DeSantis doesn't have much appeal in front of a camera. He's just really good at what he does. Marco Rubio, maybe the best of the bunch, but he doesn't have what Trump has. What Donald Trump did for 90 seconds last night, reducing them to, especially anybody that's been a parent, a bratty little kid that curls his lip because he wants his candy, but he hasn't finished his chicken nuggets yet, and is sitting there pouting and scowling at you. That's what they looked like. And they didn't know they were watching politics. They didn't know, independents didn't know that they were being coached how to vote. Look, you can't vote for these people. They will not stand up and say that they are for Americans first and illegal aliens second. They can't do it. Now, maybe each one of them has a different reason. I'm sure Ilhan Omar is more for the illegal aliens. She doesn't like Trump. But for some of them, they just hate Trump so bad, they can't stand if he asked them to stand. They can't do it. And he knew this. And it breathed, and it was incredible. And it's going to be played over and over and over. You watched last night. I'm going to predict it right now. After that last night, I'm going to predict this. I'm not a political scientist. I don't know the map, okay? I don't know all the numbers. If they use that clip properly in September and October, leading up to the November midterms, the Republicans are going to have the House, the Senate, and the White House. They're going to win again. They have to use that properly everywhere it's purple. Now, I haven't looked this up yet today. I apologize. If one of our listeners knows, I'd love to know. Where was Sharice Davids last night? Was she in the room? Was she at one of these little zoo parties or whatever? You know, they had people dressed up in costumes where these 70-some Democrats went that didn't want to go there. Was Emmanuel Cleaver in there? Or did he skip? I don't have the answer. I don't know. Maybe you know and you'll let me know. That'll be fine. But we're going to find out. And at some point, somebody's going to ask Cleaver and Sharice Davids around here, where were you when Trump said, stand up if you agree that the number one duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens? And how do you respond to that? Can I please have your answer to that question? It should become the only thing they campaign on. You can go out there and say the economy's doing better. You got a bigger tax refund this year. We got closed borders. You can say that stuff. But as you go forward in these midterms, you have a very clear choice when voting between these two parties. Here's your clear choice. They can't even say that they're for you over an illegal alien. They couldn't show it at the most important moment. The only negative of the speech last night was there were 12 headlines. I mean, they were all over the place. We're doing a war on fraud, right? We're going after that. He talked about the new accounts that will be equivalent to what government workers get, where they will donate, they'll contribute. The government, if they pass this, will donate and contribute $1,000 a year to your retirement, your personal retirement account. If you put in so much, they'll put up to $1,000 in every year. It's a free $1,000. A lot of people don't have jobs with 401ks, whatever, but they might be able to save whatever the requirement is. Let's say you have to put in $4,000 a year on your own, and they'll put in $1,000. Well, that's a 25% boost to your retirement account, and you've started something, and it's going to grow, especially for young people. If we just got people in their 20s in this country to contribute something like $100 a month, and the government put in $25 a month, and you let it sit there until you're 65, we don't need Social Security. It's a giant draw on our system. The Democrats love Social Security because it makes you believe that you need government. But if we take a much smaller helping hand along the way, like the Trump accounts for babies, and if they're going to implement this for people who don't have, I assume it's don't otherwise have 401ks and things like that. Like if you're in your own investments, your own 401k, you shouldn't qualify. I firmly believe that. I shouldn't qualify for one of those. But somebody else should. If you're doing the work that doesn't have those benefits and you can't contribute, that's awesome. He's coming up with all these great things. We heard him talk about issues, policy, There was raw emotion. There were heroes. The hockey team. The hockey team was like the fifth best thing. It was amazing, but it was like the fifth best thing. The only two things the Democrats stood for were the hockey team, and then when he got on, no stock trades for members of Congress. We can't be having this insider trading. No stock trades for Congress. And most of the Democrats stood for that. They're lying by standing, but at least they did it. They could have lied and said they stand with Americans, not illegal aliens, but they couldn't do that, could they? No, they did it all. We saw some tragic stories of victims. And I'll ask you this. If you're a politician and you're worried about voters that you think won't vote for you because you stood up for Americans before illegal aliens, or if you were afraid to stand up when he showed the mom whose daughter was stabbed 27 times and literally died in a pool of blood in a bathtub or whatever it was, if you cannot stand up at that moment, don't clap for Trump, forget that part. That woman is in the room. If you cannot get out of your seat and you're an elected official in this country because you're afraid your constituents won't vote for you, which is what this is about. If you can't stand up and put your hand on your heart and pat it and nod to that woman, God bless you or something, I'm thinking of you, you're in my heart, you're in my prayer, whatever. If you can't do that, do you really want the votes from the people you're concerned about not voting for you? What kind of incredibly awful, low-life, scumbag human being votes are you trying to cull that you cannot acknowledge a woman who had her daughter stabbed 27 times? These people aren't human. They're Democrat robots. And we might have seen their destruction in the midterms last night. Their hand was played brilliantly by Donald J. Trump. I'd love to hear your thoughts. 913-408-7957. This is Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio.
From Overland Park to Parkville, it's Kevin Kietzman, Uncanceled, on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Like Andy Reid likes to say, time's yours. We're going to the phones after the State of the Union for the ages. And we start today on Uncanceled. We got Mark in Shawnee, fired up, locked, and loaded. Here we go, Mark. What's on your mind, buddy?
Wow. You threw it down. And I got to tell you, I agree 100% with everything you said. The human moments were just undeniable. The war heroes, the victims, the hockey team with their teeth knocked out, and that red-blooded boil. That red blood is just boiling inside. This is just the greatest country on earth, and we got the right man for the right time. And when you look, and you have to. Those moments are so great. But what you said is exactly right. You look at the face of Roberts, Amy Coney Barrett. This man's got the gall to point them out. And Robert's face just contorting. What's he thinking? That's what I want to know. Ilhan Omar, when he backed her, when he talked about that fraud, the Somalians he's turning over, our vice president and all that, she was squirming. Oh my gosh. Hakeem Jeffries had sweat coming all over his face. They showed Pelosi and Schumer. I just loved every bit of that. Seeing that here it is on the world stage, we're calling you out. No president I've ever seen's got the gall and the guts.
That's right.
To come at people like that.
That's exactly right. And these people are used to dealing with nice guys, and I like their policy. John Thune and Mike Johnson, fine. They're used to dealing with those dudes every day who are just genuinely nice people, and then Trump rolls in there and tells them how it is. Man, they live in a bubble in that Democrat Party, and they got a heavy dose of real America last night.
Right on.
Good call, buddy. Appreciate you, as always. Let's go next to, this is going to be Joe in Overland Park. Good morning, Joe. What's up?
Hey, Kevin. How's it going?
Fine, thank you.
Hey, I can't get over the State of the Union last night. Trump absolutely nailed it, and I thought it was especially brilliant that he now has Democrats on record of everything we suspected, but on record as supporting illegal aliens over U.S. citizens. I just thought that was brilliant when he asked people to stand if they agreed. Just brilliantly played.
One of the reactions I saw when it was over last night, I was flipping around to some of the liberal media, NBC and ABC and CBS and some of those. One of the reporters, and I don't know this to be true, but they were on and they were upset. And they said, that line was not in the speech. And I'm like, well, wait a second. They released the speech before it's given to the media. And they even bring anchors in. And Trump sits with the network anchors and says, here's what we're talking about, whatever. And they hand him a copy of the speech. So they get it a few hours in advance. It was not in the speech that he gave them, but it was on his teleprompter. He basically tricked him. And he's like, you know what? Y'all been doing this to me forever. To hell with you. I'm not going to give you this line, because if he published that line before the speech, no Democrat would have shown up. They would have been long gone. They would have been out and said, nope, we're protesting. Like, they would have known. He tricked them, and I love that.
Yeah, and everybody knows Trump goes off script quite a bit. So,
but that wasn't. It was actually on the teleprompter.
Okay, got you. Okay. No, I just thought it was brilliant, and I tell you, I told my wife after it was all over, I said, this man, I knew he was brilliant, but he is brilliant, and he loves his country. And you can't ask for more than that.
It was a great night. Joe, great call,
Thanks
buddy.
a lot.
Thank you. God bless you. Appreciate that. Here's our man Walter in Spring Hill. Hi, Walter. How are you?
Hey, Kevin, I'm great. I have to agree. It was the greatest State of the Union I've ever seen. And I have to kind of piggyback on your first caller, Mike. The thing that has always hacked me off about the Republican Party is it's just too damn nice. They always want to take the high road when Democrats will go nuclear on lie after lie after lie. So I love how he called these crazy folks out. He even said, these people are crazy. And I loved that because it's true.
I loved when he said, is Nancy Pelosi here tonight? And everybody's like looking around like, is Pelosi here? Like, oh, remember that old relic that we've, pushed off to the dustbin of history? It was just classic.
It was. And he's got the balls to call them out where nobody has ever done that before.
Totally
That's
right.
what I love about it.
It's why we will run to the polls every time for a candidate like that. Every single time. Good call, buddy. You are spot on. That Mark Kelly from Arizona was sitting right up front. they're not going to be able to convict him or whatever. They messed with him because he made the comments and basically told our soldiers that if you think your superiors in the military are giving you illegal orders, you can ignore them and report them, which was bad. And he said beforehand, he did all the liberal media outlets. He went to all of them and said, I'm going to show up and sit up front. I'm going to intimidate Trump. He's going to have to stare at me all night, knowing that he can't get me, that he didn't get me and he can't get me. I'm like, are you kidding me? Do you know how many times Donald Trump has been in front of people and microphones and on TV and Saturday Night Live and Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin? Mark Kelly is going to sit in the front row and stare at Trump and intimidate him. It didn't work, Mark. Guess what? You were one of the goats of the night, and that is a negative goat. Because when you sat there like a little 3-year-old without his Cheerios, you looked like a loser in a lot of ways. And I'm not saying you are. You served our country. You're still serving it in a way that I don't appreciate or respect, but you've served. You've done great things as an American. I'll respect you on that front, but boy, it was pathetic look last night. You and so many of your colleagues that were in there, it was the saddest thing ever for you all to just sit in there on your hands and pout. And Ilhan Omar to be sitting there screaming at Trump that he's a murderer and you've killed people and all these things. Crazy. They just, and oh my God, how about this Spanberger who gave the response afterwards? I mean, why didn't they just put the chyron underneath there, just say, Democrat Karen? That's it. It's every Democrat Karen we've ever seen. They picked to give the speech. Pathetic. More of your calls. Hang on the line next.
From Smithville to Shawnee Mission, it's Kevin Kietzman, Uncanceled, on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
We take the calls in the order they come in here on Uncanceled. Unless a lady calls, we'll put you at the front of the line. So ladies, dial us up. Let's go 913-408-7957 if you want to join this conversation. A lot of folks, this is like, I told Mark, it was like I did sports radio for 23 years. And a lot of times you come in on a Monday after a big Chiefs game and stuff, and you could just feel the energy in the town and what the show was going to be. And I knew people wanted to chime in on this today. I could just feel that was like a major sporting event last night with the reaction from so many folks. Doug in Overland Park waited through the break. We appreciate that greatly. Hi, Doug. Good morning to you.
Hey, Keith. Hey, man, I'll get to the point. I love the positivity that you have and your positive attitude, and I am a definitely half full kind of guy. But, man, after what I saw last night, the behavior from the left in everything leading up to last night, it scares the heck out of me. It was an awesome speech. I am a Trump supporter through and through, and I love it. But, man, you haven't seen stuff like this since the 1850s in this country when a man was almost beaten to death with a cane on the floor of the House. And it's awful. I've never seen it in my lifetime. Back when you and I were kids, bro, we were taught to support the president no matter who he was. After that election, we're all Americans first. And that's gone out the window, bro. I think we're in for some dark days. I think we need to be praying to the Lord, asking for protection, and it's just a sad deal.
Well,
thanks, man.
Thank you. I appreciate the call. I am uplifted that a lot of people saw or will see in a social media era that 90 seconds, and that's why I emphasized that at the start of the show today. I think millions of Americans are going to see that and go, what? Wow. And it really, what's so important about it wasn't like that moment was not a political speech. It was a political ploy for sure, but most people didn't know that. When you were watching it, you're just like, okay, this is easy. We're all right here. We've elected all of you to be here in this most sacred and important place, the people's house. And just stand up with me that we're for American citizens before illegal aliens. And they couldn't do it. And that is just, it was a remarkable moment in time I don't think any of us will ever forget. Truly amazing. Here's Carrie in Tonganoxie. Hi, Carrie.
Hi. Good morning. The only thing I saw on the right side of my president on the lower floor was treason, every one of them. And it reminds me of the movie A Few Good Men when Tom Cruise screamed out, "Did you order the code red?" And Jack Nicholson hung himself. And that's exactly what those people did last night, and I can't stand any one of them for doing it.
Yeah.
Every one of them.
It was like a Hollywood moment, and they didn't know it was coming. And I think we're going to learn the backstory. I think that what they said, what I saw last night was somebody saying that line was not in the speech that was given to us, but then they implied that it was on the teleprompter. He read it like it was on the prompter. It didn't sound like off-the-cuff Trump to me when he said that line. I think it was ready. It was prepared. He knew exactly where to put it in. And I don't know about you, but a couple minutes before that, they had a really sad story on. I don't remember which one it was because there was a bunch of them. It might have been the mom who lost her child. And the Democrats wouldn't stand. And I turned to my wife, Jessica, and I said, what kind of human being can't get out of their seat when they're in the same room with somebody who lost their child in such a horrific, violent way and stand up and at least pat their heart or pour their hands out to them or nod or acknowledge their grief? What human being can't stand up for that? I said, I need Trump to call them out right now. I'm like, he needs to call them out. He needs to look at them and tell America these people couldn't stand for this woman who lost her child. That's who these people are. And he didn't do it. And I said he missed an opportunity. But about 2 minutes later, he had his opportunity ready and he got him.
Yeah, it hurt my heart every time they did that. And if that was my child, I couldn't stand it. There is no humanity on that side. There is none. Zero.
That's exactly right. And why? Whose vote do you really want? If you think they're going to be upset with you for acknowledging a mom who lost their child, and that's going to cost you votes so you can't acknowledge that person, you don't want those people's votes. I don't want those people's votes. Do you?
No, this is the way I was raised. You voice your opinion, you stand up for what you believe, and that's it. I don't back down. I've never met anybody I'm scared of, and I'm not going to back down from what I believe. I don't care if you don't like me. I don't care. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to do what's right. And those people are not doing what's right.
You're a good man,
They are
Kerry.
not.
Thank you so much for your phone call today. Outstanding phone call. Here is Linda in the Northland. Good morning, Linda. What's on your mind today?
Good morning. Well, I just had a different opinion on what everybody keeps saying, that they're looking at the Democrats going, they look like pouty children, and they, I said, no. They look like evil. I said, there is a spiritual war going on, and they epitomized evil at that event to me. That's how I felt, the vibe for the whole thing. And then the other thing I wanted to say was somebody put up a meme at the end, which I think probably should be a mug, a button, a bumper sticker. It's just the flag, and it says, they set.
I don't disagree with you about the evil thing, but I don't think most Americans would watch something like last night and the word evil would come to mind. We're pretty dyed in the wool politically here, you and I, so we may think that, but I think that's a the Democrats are so famous for going over the top with the words that they use. There may have been some people who were thinking evil when they watched that, but I think most people that I'm talking about that may have been persuaded last night that looked at it and said, wow, have I really voted for this party before? Who are these people? I don't think they would have thought evil. They would have just thought, these are the biggest babies in the world, and they're sad. They're not great Americans. I can't vote for them anymore.
Disagree. I said I felt it.
I know you did. I'm agreeing with you. I know you did, and I'm not saying many others like you or I didn't. I just think the bigger picture here has to do with the only thing Democrats care about, and that is winning elections. They made a calculation that sitting like that would help them win elections, and in fact, it's totally the opposite. I think most people that watched it, that are either persuadable or would switch parties, would look at them and not think that's evil. They just think it was a clown show. They'd be like, I can't vote for these people anymore.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I agree.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I agree. Say hi to our friends in the Northland, okay?
Okay.
Appreciate you, Linda. I'm not disagreeing with Linda that that's what she felt. Opinions are never wrong. That's her opinion of what she saw was evil. And I saw a couple of them that I could see evil in their eye. You can see that in some of them. So I'm not disagreeing about that. My broader point is that moment for most people would be like, what? Especially people that maybe watch something like this and don't really follow it all that closely. Be like, what? That's what? They can't stand up and say they're for American citizens before illegal aliens? I mean, the whole thing's preposterous. Here's Steve in the Northland. Hi, Steve. Good morning to you.
Kevin, you being holed up in Kansas City is denying the rest of the country. You should be a national treasure. You're the best political talk show host I've heard on any station anywhere. And man, I really want you to get out because you're up at the level of Rush Limbaugh.
Well, that's insane. That's ridiculous. Thank you for your kind words, but that is absolutely ridiculous.
You're old. You might remember that Rush Limbaugh started out at this station in Kansas City.
I know all this, and I've told this story before, and I don't really like talking about it a lot, but I'm just going to share it, okay? This is my hometown. My family is here. I raised my children here. I had offers to go do sports talk in many places around the country. I had a chance to do a couple of national shows that were crappy time slots, but would have got my foot in the door. I never hired an agent, and I never wanted to leave. I was very blessed. In 1997, I became partner in a radio station and owned a portion of that radio station and co-founded it, and that was good enough for me. I love it here.
Well, you still got 10, 15 plus years. You're going to work until you die, just like Rush did, because that's what you love doing. You need to give it to the rest of the country now.
I do a podcast every day. The rest of the country can hear my podcast. Kevin Kietzman has issues every single day. It's available to the entire world, and I've got listeners in all 50 states.
Okay. Hey, listen, I loved this speech. It was incredible. As always, Trump just nailed it. But I got to tell you something. We have three principles in this country that we should not compromise. That is, we believe in free speech. We believe that all men are created equal, and we do not believe in theocracy. And our closest ally in the Middle East does not believe that. And we're about to go to war in Iran one more time. And it's something we've had it with the Middle East and supporting these wars for the state of Israel. And that's my point. But other than that, he was incredible. And but I think the American people are fed up with our support for the state of Israel. It's something they're living a great lifestyle over there. They have universal basic income in Israel, as a result of all the money we're spending there as their welfare state.
All right.
That's the point I wanted to make.
All right, thank you for the call. We always appreciate the open forum. Anything that's on your mind is always good with me, man, and you got it off your chest today. That is fantastic. There were a couple of other moments last night where we watched Democrats sitting there, and the one lady, is Jayapal, is that her name? She had the F ICE button on. I saw another person wearing Epstein files button of some sort, or I don't know, duct tape across her blouse or something like that. And a couple of these things are really striking to me because I, for the life of me, don't understand the Epstein thing. I never, as Democrats go, now we are finally seeing the dominoes topple. I don't know if you saw this yesterday. The former president of Norway, who gave Obama the Peace Prize in 2009, he was in charge of the Nobel Prize Committee, who gave Obama the Peace Prize, which has been somewhat controversial because he wasn't that peaceful of a president. This dude got rung up on charges related to the Epstein files. He's all over the place in there. And it was bad. This dude wasn't good. His name is Thorbjørn Jagland. He's the former president of Norway. Are you ready for this? He's in a hospital. He just tried to kill himself. It's not anywhere in the news. It's all over Europe. Europe's imploding. They've got a prince stripped of his crown and arrested. A British politician has resigned. Ambassadors are going to jail. The Epstein files are tearing Europe apart at the seams. And the Democrats want more of this? If it goes back to Obama, a Nobel Peace Prize, Norway, and European politicians, princes, and ambassadors, how bad is this going to get for the Democrats in this country? Do they really want this? And when I see them wearing those buttons, okay, it's been released now. 3 million pages have been released. It's all out there. People are pouring over it. Where were you when Biden was president and Pelosi was speaker? You didn't want it then. You're telling me that Trump came down the escalator in 2015. You had a year and a half before that first election, didn't find anything in the Epstein files. Then he was president. You impeached him. You hate him. You did all this stuff. You came up with all these hoaxes. You're back in charge for 4 years with everything at your disposal, and you don't find anything on Trump. And now these idiots are sitting there last night wearing Epstein buttons that he's covering up. How? I mean, of all people, how could Trump be covering this thing up? It would have been found. They're dropping like flies. It's crazy. A CBS reporter this week resigned from his job. They weren't going to fire him because they didn't want to believe in cancel culture, but he's out. I'm telling you, the head of the Olympics in Los Angeles is going to be toast. Casey Wasserman. They're dropping like flies, and they're all Democrats, folks. They're just right and left from the Epstein files. That's of all the things the Democrats do, I don't get that part. If you're worried about kids, which is their argument, these are pedophiles. We're worried about these young girls being abused. Hello, we had open borders for 4 years. Did you hear Tom Homan's story last week in front of the GOP Lawyers Association? He said, we have custody of a 14-year-old girl that has been gang raped for 2 years, and she's pregnant. She was smuggled here and abused, and her captors that are holding her now have basically just been gang raping her. She's 14 and pregnant. She's in our custody now. It's going to be okay. We've got her. She's healthy, but she's never going to have a normal life. And you're worried about the Epstein files? You perverts opened the borders for 4 years. Do you know what they did to minors bringing them here? 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles, 5,000 miles. Women and children abused and raped for money. Families would desert their kids, stay where they are, take the money from the cartels and say, take my children to America. It's a better way for them. Just drop them in America and they'll be okay. We're going to stay here. Thanks for the money. And there they go. Off they go. And they're selling off their children, doing all this stuff to these traitors. And you're worried about what Epstein did? I'm worried about what Epstein did too, but my God, let's have a little understanding of a big picture here of millions of people being trafficked and abused. What do you think the cartel's business has been? Why do you think this stuff is happening in Mexico and what they're cutting off? Do you know how many children they moved into America? Do you know why they moved children into America? To get pregnant and have babies. Let's send a whole bunch of teenagers to America and let them have sex all day long until they drop babies on American soil. The Dems were in on it. It's the stupidest law in the United States today. If your baby drops on this soil, you're an American. That's insane. There is no chance on earth that's what our founding fathers had in mind. Zero. We'll see what the Supreme Court decides on this, but we're living in insane times. They're literally trying to take over the country with people that don't live here, not with an army of potential voters, with an army of a potential underclass that relies on all of our support and all of our money and won't go home as long as we're giving it to them. And believe you me, the Democrats are sitting here thinking right now, we're getting the White House back in 28, and when we do, that border's coming open again. There's going to be floodgates. They may document them better this time and say, oh, we're documenting them better this time, but it's going to happen again. They're not giving up on this. This is the civil war of our lifetime. These people that are not American citizens. And what we decide to do and whether the parties ever agree on that will decide the future of America. Mark joins us next. We got a couple of lighter topics to finish up with. This is Uncanceled on KCMO.
From Lawrence to Leavenworth, it's Kevin Kietzman, Uncanceled, on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Okay, Mark Van Sickle, help me out on this. What's the controversy with Fran Fraschilla and KU basketball fans? Is this a real thing?
Just for the last several years, KU fans don't like that he's so critical, quote unquote, on KU broadcasts.
But then there's this incident apparently that happened Monday night after the game. He was leaving in a car and there was a traffic jam. And I don't know what happened. The guy called into a podcast or something yesterday and said, I was there, I was driving, and a white BMW stopped everybody behind him, and all the people were coming out of the parking garage. He was letting them all come in. And Fraschilla was like 2 cars away or something. And they were trying to merge. And he waited and waited and waited. And then this guy rolled his window down and said, hey, I'm trying to get in. And Fran rolled his window down. And he recognized the voice. He thought, this is weird. There's a guy wearing a suit. And he says, are you Fran Fraschilla? And he goes, yeah, I am. And they kind of got into it a little bit.
Oh, I didn't hear about this.
Oh, yeah. He said in Fran's defense, he had the right of way. But then he's like, I've waited so long, I'm not letting you go, dude. I'm just not. And the guy goes, oh, come on. And his buddy started shouting out the window. And as he pulled away, he said, F Kansas, FKU.
Oh, branded?
I guess. And he posted it or something and made a joke about it and then got rid of it. I think it was a joke at these guys. I don't know. I'm just wondering if this is going to turn into a thing. They want Fran Fraschilla banned from Allen Fieldhouse.
Boo. Let him be a broadcaster. I don't care.
Maybe tomorrow. If anybody was there and saw this, we need an eyewitness account on Uncanceled tomorrow. Call the show and let us know exactly what happened with Fran Fraschilla after the game on Monday night. Missouri won last night, 73-69.
That was a good win. They should be a tournament team.
I was thinking most of the way through this thing, they got the lead at like the 10-minute mark, and they never let it go. But it was never a big lead. It was always like, oh, boy, it's just 20 seconds away from being a disaster here for Mizzou. But they didn't, and they've played some games this year where they were good down the stretch. They beat number 22 Tennessee. Now, I can make an argument that Tennessee shouldn't be ranked number 22. Missouri's ahead of them in the SEC. And I think Tennessee's lost to 6 unranked team this year. So they probably shouldn't be ranked. But that's a good win for Missouri. They're dialing them up. And are you excited about the NFL Combine? Brett Veach says he wants to sign Trent McDuffie to a long-term contract. I'm worried about John, who's going to melt down on this thing.
I like that. I saw they interviewed David Bailey from Texas Tech.
All right.
And Ruben Bain. And those are my top 2 guys, so I like that.
Brett Veach says he's excited. This is going to be exciting to not be in maintenance mode anymore and try to build an actual team. Let's go get it, Chiefs. You need some studs. The Vince Show's coming up next. Much more on the State of the Union. This is KCMO Talk Radio.